I'm going to go ahead and clear this chat here for a little bit. And I'm going to go back. So I ended on a rant about academia and the overpriced cost of books that are impossible to read because they've lost connection with their readership, and they're designed to impress institutions who buy them and force them on students without any market forces involved whatsoever. Because I was starting with my first paragraph here, I was trying to decide, answer the first question of all writing. Who is my audience? And everybody was saying the audience is a bunch of people who want to write, expression, grammars, and languages and stuff. And I actually don't think that's true. I really want to write something for, the people who don't have that level of background and that interest. And I kind of want to convince them that this is why they should do it. So I'm thinking about changing my tone here a little bit. So then I could say this. I could say PEGN is a language for writing languages. How about that? I mean, people know what grammar is, right? More precisely, it's a notation for capturing any grammar and how that grammar it's for expressing. Okay, it's a notation for expressing. How's it going, Dusty? I would think so, yeah. But I want to write this. I kind of want to write it for people who may not even know what a grammar is in sense of like parsing a grammar. For language for writing, more precisely, it's a notation for expressing any language, any grammar, in a way that is easy to parse, either cognitively or programmatically. That's what it is. PEGN is a language for writing languages. More precisely, it's I know you guys, it's going to be boring edit sessions with me, but that's, if you want to join, I'm welcome to having you along. More precisely, it's a notation for expressing any grammar in a way that is easy to parse, both cognitively and programmatically. Okay, that is the best one sentence summary I could come up with. So I'm going to keep that there. We need to, speaking of like, well, why would I want to use it? All right, so let's answer that question. Sometimes I'll kind of rhetorically write it in there, but in this case, I'm just going to answer the question. So, cognitively and programmatically, I almost kind of want to put that in there at this point. PEGN is a language for writing languages. More precisely, it's a notation for expressing any grammar in a way that is both easy to parse, that is easy to parse cognitively and programmatically. I'm using parametric method. I don't know if that's even a thing anymore. That's how I was taught. Parametric method is from what I understand, is removing any unspecific. Well, it's it's parsing expression grammar. So I like the word express personally. They are the expressions are definitions though. It's a notation for. So I guess you could say for expressing any grammar. Approximately, yeah. So yeah. It could be either one of those words. I'm kind of on the fence. Barely, almost want to change it. It's language for writing. For how about defining language instead of writing? Oh, that's where you wanted to change it. I see now. Thank you. Here's a language for defining languages. More precisely, it's a notation for expressing any grammar in a way that's easy to parse cognitively and programmatically. Uh, without any concern for how it is implemented. Without any specific implementation in mind. Without any specific usage or implementation in mind. Application or implementation in mind. There, that's good. So, I need to give like one or two solid examples. So, PEGN, for example, PEGN can easily represent the JSON grammar as follows. I can pull this in. Is it there? Is that where is it? Let's see, if I go up one, it'd be spec. Then it would be grammar. There we go. JSON PEGN. All right. All right, so yeah, I don't even know what version of the JSON RFC this. I guess I could just do. It's actually PEGN grammars /JSON. Is that a thing? Yeah. They don't. That's why. This is what's tricky because this is the RFC right here. But this is the version of the PEGN grammar. I know. That's not completely apparent. I get it. But so I don't know how that. I mean, because we're gonna have that problem no matter what because everything has got a different system for writing it down and everything. It's why you have to have a README to go with it, really. So yeah. Actually, this is not valid anymore. I need to do some things here. Actually, I think I have a macro still saved for this. Yep, I do. I love me some VI. Okay. So yeah, I think that, I mean, I kind of want to give him an example right away, right? It just makes sense to do that. People want it, they learn from examples more than anything. So, just for expressing. And then we could probably put history history. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm kind of trying to decide where we're going to cut it off and start putting our examples. Kind of getting ahead of myself here, but so for example, this, right? Legal, not legal, but the grammar thing. I think we actually have to have a section called grammar, and that's kind of expected. And the grammar section will contain the examples, and that's just kind of a thing that we can do. So anything up to that section will be considered. Now I have like meta line. It's all under the grammar section too. So, yeah, I mean that could all. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of an organization of the whole thing. So like if this document were to be, turned into a bunch of twisties out in an outline, what would we want? Well, we'd have the opening introduction, which is what this is. Everything up to the first, that'd be the opening. And then we have everything, all of this stuff would actually end up in the package itself. I've always debated about whether we should put motivation and stuff like that inside of a package documentation. Like in Go or Rust or whatever. It's like I don't really know if I want to do that or not. That's so. I'm pausing because there's so of course the goal of doing this README is so that we can auto-generate documentation for code that has the ability to document it. So that when we do grammar generation, like if I generate all those parser functions, I can just pull out the sections of the PEG grammar and put them in there. But in addition to that, I can also put the rhetorical explanation of that section, so that we have a something that can be read besides just the grammar itself, and that could actually even go into error messages. Which I'm seriously considering. I think, and ends with end line. Starts with pen my grammar, ends with end line. Yeah. So there's some things that are going to get parsed out of the README.md file that are going to make it into the code that's generated, and other things not so much. Particularly error messages, I'm kind of hung up on that one right now, because the better the error message, right now when we lint, it says this is what you need to have here, and you're missing that. But I think that we should be able to generate more verbose error messages that actually contain the entire paragraph, so that when you're running PEG and lint, you're getting that section of the documentation is getting shown to you, and we can do that by generating that by pulling it out of the README and putting it in the code in the right place. And that would include, the grammar itself. And the reason I like that is because the documentation for the grammar would travel with the parser. So whenever you're dealing with something that involves a grammar, you kind of need to make a way to document it, and the more documentation the better. So if you do get an error, I would love to get like a big old long page full of stuff about this is what goes here and this is what you're missing. What's the grammar in the MD? Well, that's kind of what I'm on right here. So we need to find, there's a number of ways we could do this. I'm just trying to keep it simple. I feel like at the moment, there should that all documentation, frankly, I mean, we took away that formal specification in the grammar that the first thing here needed to be grammar. And again, I'm kind of overthinking this. Now that we have the ability to write an AST, to get an AST and parse that and to go through it for our thing, we can actually match the header. So we can say the first header that matches the first identifier in the document marks the beginning the identifier documentation. You follow me? So that means, and that's not too hard. I mean, that's not a stretch to do that. So what we would say then is, and that would keep it nice and simple for the people writing it. That kind of thing would be harder if you were dealing with like grep and sed and all kinds of stuff. But because we have, low level knowledge of the readme.md file, we can combine, we can parse the spec. If we're generating grammar, we're already going to have done that. We're gonna parse the spec, and so we have a thing, and so we go through the thing and say, what's our first definition? And then search the check IDs, right? That's all we're doing. It's just actually all of the IDs. We're going to do check IDs and class IDs. So every single identifier is going to get some sort of document. I do need to make a decision about tokens. I think that tokens will probably be identified in their own section, and as well as classes. I think classes should get its own section, and I think tokens should get its own section. And frankly, I think tokens and classes, I would like to put them early, but the problem is I don't think I can because it's going to take way too much space. So I think we should have a generic section for classes and a generic section for tokens, and we just lump together all the tokens in order in those areas when we're filling it out. And so yeah, I think that's gonna take care of it. This, of course, this is unusual. I have a lot of tokens in this grammar. But so be it, right? So that's not gonna, no one's gonna die. So yeah, and then the tokens really don't need any kind of documentation. They just need to be included in the doc. In fact, I almost feel like we don't need the document to contain anything related to the tokens or classes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why do we need to pull in the tokens and classes? We can just link them to the spec, right? I think that's more important. I think you're right. I think just check IDs are the only things that need documentation. So schema IDs and check IDs are check IDs, right? All check IDs. So all check IDs get, in order, get a section. A second level header section. I was thinking of trying to make them all under a subheader and something like that. I think no. I think we just keep it all level 2 if you guys agree. But that's kind of what I'm inclined to do. So we have all the check IDs get their own section, including schema def for schema defs and check defs. And that's kind of important because we're gonna. That's also, I mean, in your grammar generator, even if it's not a significant, thing, if it's just a check def and not a schema def, who cares? You still need to be able to document a check def because sometimes you might. In fact, I mean, as we saw with the semantic versioning, they have language specific to the specification that's written out in English, so that there's no misunderstanding. And I think we're talking. I mean, some of these grammars we're talking about RFC level of formality. So having it written out like that is not a bad thing. Yet another system, right? In addition to RFC and ISO and all right. So I think I talked through that one enough to know that that's the right thing to do. And that kind of means that all of the other headers will be lumped together. Yeah, and then so yeah, because these things here are simply going to be ignored. And the other advantage of that is that means that we can put we can put whatever the fuck we want in here. I mean, we really can, because this needs to get yeah, I need to change this. I need to put it to do in here. To do give permission to use like Linux does. there's Linux has some formal language it uses to release its trademarks for regular usage by everybody without hassle. But I just want to keep control of the trademarks. I don't want that going out of hand. Anyway, so use is governed by the Apache 2.0 license. Apache 2.0. I don't even know if I need to put that there. This stuff is already in the header. So I think I can delete it. I can delete it. I know I can. Okay, so trademarks is just a random section. So if I have a section called tokens, it's not hurting anything, right? Maybe what we do is we say, okay, you know, if you add a section called classes and tokens, that these are not required, but they're kind of like idiomatic. If you want to describe the stuff in your classes, fine. And if you want to get really down and dirty with that, you can. And part of the class is when the tokens are single unit click here. Match verbatim are usually checked directly as a part of actually, this right here doesn't even belong here. This belongs in the explanation of the class identifier. So yeah, this is really good. This is a good exercise. I was trying to outline some of the functions here, but I think more importantly, we just need to have those names. And then this is the thing I struggle with. I don't think we should have the spec in two places, if that makes sense. I don't think we should just write the documentation for that particular thing. I don't think we should have it because it can be too hard to maintain. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we do have to have examples of it though. I think that's more important, is that we have examples of it. I don't know, man. I'm really torn on that. It's almost like you need to have a schema a README generator from the schema, right? Which we could easily make. You know what? That might be the thing to do here. You know, so like if you're going to generate the first version, if you're going to generate the first README file, so the first README file could be generated from the schema, and it would make you a template. So we could do, you know, PEGN README, yeah. So you could do PEGN README, and it would take the schema, and it would generate a starting template for the README file, and it would have all the sections outlined, and it would take the sections, you know, and it would actually put them in code blocks, and it would make a section called examples for each one or something. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then we don't have to. And the other thing that's so cool about this is the part that it just really makes my heart flutter. So normally, if we were to change the schema, it would get out of sync with a README file. And I think that's the concern I just had, right, about maybe deleting out this stuff here, because it's going to be a pain in the ass. If you make me an example of such a README, I can make a generator today. I know, it's pretty cool, huh? So let's just talk through this for a second. So normally in this situation, maintaining a separate spec block from the specification itself would be a pain in the ass. It would be really, really hard, because anytime I make a change to the specification, this line would change, right? But because we have ASTs of both the README file and the PEGN grammar, we can walk both of them and say, hey, you remember that one with header meta line, or header meta, right? You remember the code from that? Replace the code in this AST for the README file, and then regenerate the README file without changing any other content. And what we could do is we could actually put a big old warning in here. It says, warning, this has not been updated, or put a to do there. We can do all that automatically. That's so fucking cool. This is one of the many cases where making this tool is just going to make life so amazing, because we're going to be able to synchronize and compose and draw together and compare data from anything. and put it together. So I actually just assuaged my own concern about having this spec line here get out of sync with the other one, because we can easily make a tool that keeps those two things in sync. And the few times when we have to do just one change and it's annoying, we'll just copy and paste. So I'm not, the point I'm trying to make here is I actually think it's having a generator makes good sense. And then what we can do, it's actually more work to generate the README file and then it is to actually write all the documentation that's going to go in the README file. So here's the workflow. The workflow is, I need to write this down somewhere. All right, so motivation. I'm just dumping this right here just because sample grammar workflow. Grammar development workflow. So you would create the schema file. Let's see, create a repo to contain the grammar specification, and then you would make yeah, I'm going to get that to you, Quint. I'm going to work on getting that to you. I don't know what it's going to look like for right now, but I think it's pretty easy. What we need to do after I finish this is we need to make an empty README file, a README file that has just been generated, and I'll get you that sample, and then you can use that. In fact, we could keep it in here as kind of a test case, right? It's like this file that you could use it for your TDD to say, here's the file that should have been generated from the PEGN grammar. Does that make sense? And you can like compare the two, make sure it's working. Also, I have to fix the Go code for the extension I added. It's still, that hasn't been, haven't updated that yet. Okay, so to create a PEGN grammar, this is what you do. So one, create a README specification. No README needed yet. All right. So I don't know if that's a dotted thing or not. And then we say, and then what we do, then create a grammar dot PEGN file. Contain the PEGN spec. PEGN notation. Contain it. It's code, I guess, right? License file. For your given. Okay. Remember, specs are code. R code, I should say. I don't know. Does that need questions? I never know if those need periods or not. You tell me, guys. I don't think so. And optional. Okay. I don't think it's optional. Create contributors. We're going to make, this is another thing we can do with the PEGN tool. We can do PEGN init. Yeah. So we can use it to like, basically we can treat writing a grammar specification like writing code, just like Node or anything. You know, we could do PEGN init, and it would like make a repo for you. You know, and then it would put all the stuff in there that you need, like a standard repo. And then you could all modify it if you wanted to. We could have some sort of interactive thing. I want to make it really easy to make grammars, bottom line. So, all right, can create a contributors file. Probably Linux DCO. Linux DCO recommended. Certificate, is it DCA or DCO? Origin, yeah. Linux DCO recommended. Contrib. I'm slow. So be it. I'm just too slow. Push the spec changes? No. This is really old. I'm gonna I dropped all the tags on everything too, so I'm gonna, you know what? Let me do that right now. Yeah, I'm here. Can I just exit to you for right now? Here we go. So I mean that'll get us by. I'll have this done by the end of the day. But I don't want to the next push I do. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, your personal copy of the parser, I have no problem with that. I removed the other tags to the parser, so make sure you have the right one. If you actually want to merge request that to me, that would be great. Now that we're completely free and clear with the DCO thing, so yeah, that'd be awesome. Or yeah, I appreciate that if you want to do that, if you have time. So, all right. Oh wow, it did the DuckDuckGo thing. Oh, that's so cool. I love that. All right. Anyway, so create. Yeah. Create a contributors file. And then what? And then I gotta just say, I'm totally ripping off so many of the best ideas of other languages, like Go. So that is such a Go thing. PEGN init, NPM init, whatever. So. All right, so create a license file. Create to contain the grammar specification. No readme needed yet. All right. How's that going to look? Let's see. No. Oh, yes, there is. Good catch. God damn. Good catch. Absolutely. I mean, you can change it in yours. I don't have, this isn't a repo anymore. I already deleted the docket. I'm a little bit scared. But I actually did make a copy too. And now there's a copy out on the internet somewhere, and you have a copy, so we're good for at least today. You know, I'm gonna finish this sample, and then that'll get us off and running. And then I'll go do something else. But I'm super excited. This is coming along well. So yeah, let's go back to the README editing. So sample PEGN grammar development workflow. Create a repo to contain the grammar specification and README needed yet. Create a license file. Apache 2 remake recommended. Create a contributors file. Create a grammar.pegn file to contain the PEGN code. And then let's see, code. Right. I don't know how to put this. Create the grammar itself. Create the grammar code itself within the grammar.pegn file. And I do, I really want to add, I want to add some stuff here that doesn't exist yet. I'm going to say, lang ext, we now use the XP version. I don't know. You tell me. Let's take a peek. Wait a second. We have a bug then. No. Paint is different. Different. So lang in ext is this. RFC, whatever. Yeah, that's still there. So what we're talking about is this part, the dash alpha, right here. So this is actually part of the version. We wanted to get grouped with all the version stuff. And god damn, I broke it. It's not there. Where is ext verge? I don't even see it. Did I delete it? Oh, wait. Here it is. Oh, I know what it is. I did. I forgot. It needs to be pre. So semantic version specifically calls this out as pre-release. It's like then it will kill node. I kind of agree, Michael. Major version, minor version, patch version, and pre-version. So pre-version, pre-ID. Let's keep pre in this in the prefix if that's okay. I'm sorry, I didn't check that. I did kind of quickly this morning. So yeah, that's it. So let's call it pre-ver. Lang is completely unrelated, and then we'll put it down here. So yeah, we have major, minor, patch, and pre-ver. All makes sense now. Okay. Yeah, I don't know where the XT was. I think that's why I got rid of the XT, is because of the confusion with the lang thing. And this we had this kind of, consistent ver thing going on. So technically it is just yet another part of the version, right? So this is specifically Go, a clash of code. News at 11. So yeah, that's the way of things. I'm checking with our YouTube friends. Let's see if there's somebody over there. Shall we? Shall we play a game? Well, we got two whole viewers. I wonder if they've said anything fun. I disabled comments. I don't know if it's gonna. I try to remember. Is this thing on? How about that? Is this thing on? So, 3 whole viewers, counting me. So, the main advantage, by the way, in case anybody's wondering, of doing YouTube is that it auto saves my videos for free forever with unlimited transcoding. And frankly, that's worth more than any money I could get from being an affiliate on Twitch. To me, anyway. Look at this. We're doing that. It's doing that thing. Do 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 do. Dino's actually a pretty cool project. I really like it. It does have some quirks that are really crazy weird though. I'm not planning on switching on YouTube. I am on YouTube. I'm on the YouTube. I'm not switching to YouTube. I'm doing both. Thanks to Restream. Free advertising intended. So yeah. My viewership has gone down so much, I don't give a shit about Twitch money. So although it requires a support like email to even get off of affiliate, which I'm dragging my feet on, I won't lie. It's like, hey, I'm brushing my teeth and let's go for a walk. You're brushing your teeth and then we're going for a walk. Okay. Hey Quint, can I, since we're going for a walk, if you're into this, do you want to take a shot at what the README would look like that was generated? Can I just suggest off the top of my head that I'm going to be dropping the video here pretty soon to go for a walk. But what I would suggest is that, hi Sam, yes, you heard the walk word, didn't you? Yeah, she did. She totally did. What I'm thinking we could do, so let's just talk through this since you're still here. Let's make it so that this stuff gets translated and add the pre-refer. So, oh yeah, fine. But we can make it so that this stuff gets, you know what we could do? We can make a, I don't know. I mean, what if, I think it's important that we, I don't know, Payne, let me think through this, but I think it's important that we sort of encourage people to put copyright information in the spec itself. I mean, if we're going to have it, it has to, I mean, if we do, we can auto-generate the license and copyright lines from this. You know what I'm saying? So if we made, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if we did this, what if we did this? What if we made the whole first line and we said, okay, the second line is always copyright and the third line is always licenses. And so we could say, we could say, actually we could change the type Apache. We could just say, Apache PEGN should also generate an almost empty grammar.PEGN file. Yes, definitely. Totally. I agree. Because then what we could do is put all this stuff in there. And this is a change to the grammar, of course, what I'm talking about doing. This is not, it's a minor change, but we could actually feed the auto-generate, because who wants to write this twice, right? So don't repeat ourselves. What if we actually made it so it was more licensed under, and then we forced it to be Apache, it would have to be one of the standard things, but we would, and then we would have a comma separated list. So Apache 2, and then what did we do? CC by 4.0. And then actually, because we can just actually make this a grammar. This becomes the copyright line directly, and then this license line becomes the license line. We're good to go. So, and this is like the header. So we just say this is your header, and then we just add this to the metadata. So we would complicate our metadata. But if we did that, we can auto-generate everything. I really have to go. I mean, now that we have it, it's really working, everything. I mean, it's time to break it, right? So, people, I'm going to take off. I will be back, and I'm going to make a habit of dropping the stream so that there's not a lot of wasted content on YouTube. Constantly failing on dereference a pointer and go. It's yeah, it's pretty well. That whole pointer thing is not fun in any language. I won't lie.